like, giving away your intellectual property. They spent lakhs and lakhs of rupees.
They have to
Exactly.
live for the next couple of years. And
right. They run after rankings. If you're asking for a job, then now every scholarship does have slightly different criteria.
But what if someone is like scoring 70-75% or...
Should my child go for bachelor's or master's? 15 to 20% of all Indian students who go abroad actually return back home even without finishing the program. 55% in a Section 1 university is equal to an 80% as at Section 3 university. And she graduated with a 58% and she was still given a 100% scholarship, which is the cheapest country to go to. You can go to Harvard, study international relations and may end up coming back to India. The German private universities are expensive. In 20 to 30 lakh rupees, you can access a decently ranked university in multiple countries. None of the parents are getting their act together, but basically expecting the child to outperform them. One of the biggest mistake that parents today are doing is, I will give my child. Your child is a failure who came to Melbourne last year and has been able to buy a car even before he has finished the first year of studies, and girlfriend leaving you or a boyfriend leaving you. Now, should I blame the university, education system, country, child, or the parent?
Which is the best country for international students right now? Top scholarship in one sentence.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Dev Singh Show. Today I am thrilled to have a very special guest on the show, Pawan Solanki, a renowned expert with over 22 years of experience in overseas education. He has been honored as the Times Power Icon for overseas education, helping countless students find their path, choose the right subjects, universities, and secure 100% scholarships. Pawan's work has transformed the future of many international students, and I'm excited to dive into his journey, insights, and advice for those aspiring to study abroad. Let's get started.
Pawan sir, it's such a pleasure to have you on podcast today.
Lovely.
I would like to ask, what sparked your passion for helping students explore educational opportunities abroad?
Thanks, Dave. Thank you for this welcome and thank you for this opportunity. It feels good to be on your show. As somebody who counseled you as well to come as an international student, it does give me a very proud feeling as well. Like every other Indian student, I took the same journey. I did my engineering and then moved on to do an MBA. But eventually, during the course of work, I was exposed to counseling and I was exposed to human psychology. That was part of my work, and that's when I realized that that's one area that's missing in the Indian education setup, Indian parent mindset, and a child 22 years back in India was not being exposed to all of this, and that's what drove me towards education. It was the way my career kind of moved, the organizations that I worked with moved towards the education-centric organizations, but that exposure to human psychology, human behavior, that led to my interest in pursuing this as a career.
That's great to know, Pawan sir. With the changing landscape of international education, where do you see the trends kind of going forward in the next 10 to 15 years, or maybe like next 5 to 10 years? Are there any new countries popping up or any new universities kind of becoming more attractive for students?
Right. So a lot of changes are happening, and the purpose with which an Indian student is going abroad is also kind of evolving. So if you notice the trend of Indian students, roughly about 50 to 60 years ago, there were kids who were going there overseas. Only the rich families could afford it. They would go, mostly would study, come back, take over family businesses. Then came an era where students would go, study and eventually settle down. They were attracted to those countries by scholarships. Now we are seeing a kind of a reverse trend. You can categorize the Indian student who's going abroad in a couple of different categories. Category 1, of course, remains the ones who want to go study overseas and come back and take over family businesses or work in India. That's still there, and it's a fairly significant amount because studying abroad is fairly expensive, and a lot of kids do come back. And India is right now the growth story. So every business wants you to go back and take care of the Indian operations. The second category is they are not really worried about the quality of education. They just use overseas education as a means of somehow immigrating. So maximum number of changes or evolution or policy changes happens for this category. So whether it's the Canadian colleges not offering them stay back work rights, or Australia stopping private education or not giving them visas or whatever, it's this category which is trying to misuse education as a route to somehow settle down and work, and education is not their real agenda. Then there's this third category, which is like the backbone of this overseas education industry, if you want to call it, is a category where they want to go study, work for some time, and then eventually decide either they become a global citizen working anywhere in the world or want to go back to the home country, but they definitely want to work for some time. Now, I always recommend that if it's a bachelor's, please go for an English-speaking country, one lesser challenge. But the way Indian education is evolving, today you've got CBSE schools where German, French and Spanish is being taught, and students are open to the idea of going and studying in Spain, Germany, Italy or Southern American countries. So lot of aspects are there, lot of new countries are opening up. My only request to students and parents doing research is don't do a unilateral research. And most of the times the research that the students do is, which is the cheapest country to go to, right? And that's where they find many of the European countries, and they do not look at, okay, what's the safety and security situation of that country, right? For example, if you want to go to Europe right now, you've got the ongoing Ukraine and Russia conflict. Have you factored in? You had the visuals of Indian students studying medicine in Ukraine who had to be flown back, and they're still struggling to complete the program. Do you want your child to be in that situation? You had the visuals of Paris Olympics where athletes were out on the streets because there was no air conditioning for athletes that was available in the games village. Do you want your child to be in that situation? So you are not doing any kind of research on safety, security, economic situation, recession, no recession, but you're just doing research on cheapest program, right? So that's not a great way to do research.
But the cheapest program, let's say if someone is going to Latin America or parts of Europe,
right?
For example, Poland, for example, Germany,
right?
Pretty cheap, like, in terms of
Absolutely,
education.
absolutely.
But are the universities or is the entire experience worth it? Because when you pay very small amount for your 2 years or 3 years of education, you think that, okay, fine, whatever the expenses, it's at least far lower than what you are paying in your own home country.
Yes and no. Again, if you are able to get those part-time work opportunities, then the exposure is better. If you are not getting the work to work part-time, €1 is more than 100 Indian rupees. So the cost of living itself would be more than the cost of tuition fee in another English-speaking country. Or if you do not get any stay-back work opportunities because of a language barrier, or your entire experience is hampered because beyond the classroom, everything is in a different language which you're not used to, then there are bigger challenges. So what I always request a parent to do is do a multi-dimensional research. Look at the program, what is the rank of the university, rank of the program, is it giving you the right kind of skill set? Look at the cost of the program, look at cost of living, look at the work visa rights, look at the stay back work rights, find out if there are any barriers, like for example, if I'm going to a European Union country, the law clearly states that the preference for employment will be to a EU citizen or a EU resident. We are not EU residents. So you will always be that second or third category. Whereas there are countries which say that, okay, international students get the right to stay back and work. So check the laws, check the fine print. Similarly, US, if you look at it, US clearly says in their visa rules that we will give 3 years of OPT for STEM graduates, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. But if you are a non-STEM graduate, you may get up to 12 months of stay back. So if I want to do international relations and I want to go to US, I should be aware that I will not be in a position to stay back and work. Then am I willing to make that financial commitment? I should be aware about the law and order situation in the US. I should be aware about the economic crisis or recession or no recession. What's the political scenario in the US? Is there an election year? Is somebody signing up to stop immigration? Is somebody saying, I'll change the visa rules? Are you doing that research? And that has got nothing to do with the rank of the university or rank of the program. You can go to Harvard, study international relations, and may end up coming back to India because it's not part of the visa rules.
But let's take a scenario, like very random scenario. Someone is doing a bachelor's in some South Asian country, and like they are already pursuing a bachelor's, and they're planning to go for a master's.
They're pursuing a bachelor's in a South Asian country. My question would be, which university, what program?
No, like before going for master's, they are currently doing, let's say,
a bachelor's, right?
Not a good scorer, above average or just an average scorer, but they are interested into going abroad for master's, and they end up like spending last year of their bachelor's degree learning a new language, let's say German. And obviously Germany looks amazing in terms of educational fees and all those things. Obviously you have to bear your own expenses in terms of accommodation and flights and all those things. But the fee component is pretty lower as compared to other countries.
Again.
What about such scenarios like, where...
And I get a lot of these kids walking into my office and I keep reminding them, the German public universities have a discounted fees.
Okay.
Those are the funded by the government. The German private universities are expensive.
Okay.
And please remember, India is a country of 1.4 billion and we love freebies. So when Jio launches a free SIM, we have crowds trying to get that free SIM. Because Germany is giving, or a European country is giving a free or a discounted education, believe me, there'll be queues of Indian students lining up for that. So if you are an underperformer, that subsidized German education would have already been taken over by an overperformer. Okay. You would end up going to a private university provider. That may be cheaper than other countries, but it will be expensive versus the free option, because somebody who's getting that 9.0 at IIT is also looking at that free option. You can't say you can't look, right? And you can't say because I am a bad performer, Germany should only give me an option. So it's never one factor, and this is what I keep on reminding everyone. It is never one factor. Which university have you studied from in India? What is the course that you have studied? What's the percentage? What are the extracurricular activities? What is the course that you are applying to? What is the political situation in that country that you are applying to? What's your budget? How much do you want to spend? How many years do you want to stay? These are multiple. So then the algorithm changes completely accordingly. You can't just say cost. Or like, it's
okay. Let's say I have another scenario.
Right.
I've got 20 lakh rupees, for example, 40,000 Australian dollars in very much generic terms, to spend over a 2-year master's degree. Absolutely. And I'm just an above average scorer.
Right.
Is it possible for me to get an education?
Absolutely.
Okay.
There are options starting from something as simple as Singapore, Dubai, Malaysia, New Zealand, even in Australia. There are options, I think, in the UK as well. There are options in mainland Europe as well. Okay. But depends. You can't say, we
are talking about the figure, like, because I know a lot of people are not really that high earner. Right. But people do have a little bit of capacity to, go for education loans up to a limit of like 20 lakh rupees, which equal kind of...
In 20 to 30 lakh rupees, you can access a decently ranked university in multiple countries. Okay. Right. But my trouble is that when kids start saying, I have 20 lakh rupees, I don't have good grades, but I want Harvard.
The 20 lakh is equivalent to like 40,000
Australian dollars. Yeah. So if you can't tell me that I've got $40,000 in total to spend over 2 years. I'm a below average academic performer, and I want University of Melbourne on 100% scholarship.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, not happening.
Yeah.
Not happening. All right. So you if you have realistic expectations and you, as we spoke earlier about which tier of university you are applying to, what program you are applying to, what course you are applying to, everything changes. The algorithm works like that.
Now we are jumping to the most interesting segment of this podcast, 2-second rapid fire round. So how this rapid fire round works, you will get 2 seconds to think about it, and then you have to answer it.
All right.
So there's no more thinking time. Yeah. And we're going to start with the first question. Which is the best country for international students right now?
2 of them, Australia and Singapore.
One must-have skill for international student.
Cooking food.
Top scholarship in one sentence.
Government of Rajasthan scholarship.
Working while studying, yes or no?
Yes, definitely yes. Yes.
One subject you believe will be in high demand in the future.
Artificial intelligence and data sciences.
Easiest way to adapt to a new culture.
Make friends.
The biggest challenge for studying abroad.
Lack of life skills.
Most underrated country for overseas education.
New Zealand.
One mistake students should avoid while choosing a university.
Always do multi-dimensional research, not just a unidimensional research around cost.
The key to making the most out of overseas education experience.
Make friends, be involved in university activities, and always work part-time whenever you can.
Before we dig deeper into the topics of international education, I would like to congratulate you on the release of your new book. I have the copy of it, Study Abroad Playbook.
Thank you.
So I think my first question will be more around what kind of made you write a book, because there are a lot of other people
Right.
in the international education sector.
Yeah.
They operate on very much traditional models, and I've
Right.
never seen someone writing a book and actually going hit with the students right now.
Right.
So yeah, over to you.
Lot of people from within the industry told me, why are you writing a book? It's like, giving away your intellectual property or whatever. But this book is my tribute, or my kind of payback to all the faith that students and parents have given me. This was a request from a lot of my parents who came back to me saying that they spent lakhs and lakhs of rupees to agencies and consultants only to be driven in the wrong direction. And they said that, while the decision the child has to make comes at a later stage, but the planning process starts 3 or 4 years earlier. And they had no guideline to, even start doing the research. In which direction should they research? What source they should kind of refer to? How should they go about planning the whole process? And simple questions like, should my child go for a bachelor's or master's? Who's going to give me a unbiased, fair, transparent, correct answer? How do I believe who I want to believe? So we've just wanted to kind of compile that, okay, how can you do genuine research by yourself without being misguided by someone else or without being cheated? And if you are on that journey, if you find the right path, you will eventually get hold of a good counselor who will help you in that process.
That's like interesting take, like doing the research yourself, because I see a lot of people not really researching by themselves and just kind of I won't say blindly trusting, but kind of trusting on someone else's research to kind of go for a life which they have to live for the next couple of years and possibly for the entire life.
The rest of the life, because every decision that a student makes between the age of 14 to 21 impacts the rest of his life. So, and we are not kind of prescribing any model in this. It's just giving you directions of how to undertake that research. How to start your research, how to make it a plan, so that whenever you go and talk to someone, whenever you talk to a university, whenever you talk to a counselor, you are able to ask the right kind of questions, you are able to get the right kind of answers, and then you know what decisions you have to make.
That's great to know. I would like to ask, because it's again a lot of people are not interested in reading books. So, which chapter do you think is from a student perspective is most important, and would you would like people to kind of, if they can't read the book, which chapter should be the focus point?
All right. So you are absolutely right. In today's age and time, when the average attention span is less than 12 minutes. I've tried to write a book without jargons. There are no jargons in this book. I've tried to write in a language which is understood easily by a 14-year-old or 15-year-old. I've tried to keep the font and the spacing so easy that it's an easy read. If you read it, you will finish it off in 2 hours. And it's not thick, it's very thin. And I've divided the book into 2 sections. So there is a parents section, the key concerns that a parent has, and there is a student section, the concerns that a student has. So whoever you are or whatever stage you are in, you can go to that section and pick that up. There are 6 or 7 key concern areas that the parents have, And we have listed those out, and you can go across over there, straight to that.
So, because you are an expert, you have been into the field, you have worked in Australia as well for a couple of years. My question to you, and I think audience will resonate with this question pretty much. Like in your experience, what are the most common mistakes students make when choosing their university, and what should they focus on instead to make the right decisions?
Right. I've tried to address many of those in the book as well, but from my experience, there are 2 or 3 very common mistakes. Number one, they run after rankings. They don't really go after the content of the course or what would be a suitable fix for me. They just run after the rank of the university or the name of the program. Second, they don't do any kind of research on what are the skill sets that can help you get a job. Every child is worried about, this is my passion, this is what I want to do, and I want a job at the end of it. And I keep on pushing the child to do and research on, if you're asking for a job, then you need to first ask what the employers are willing to pay you for. If you can't be saying, I'm passionate about painting and Google should start paying me for my paintings, they probably don't need a painter. Right. So if you're looking for a job, start thinking from an employer's perspective, start looking from future skill needs perspective, do your research from that perspective rather than saying, this is my passion interest. If your passion and the skills in demand and the employer's requirement meet, great, you are in an ideal space. So don't run after just the name of the degree or hearsay. Identify the reason why you want to go out and eventually study. Is it employment? Is it research? Is it education? What's your objective?
Interesting. Well, you have helped countless of students in gaining scholarships for those programs. What are some of the key tips or strategies that students can use to improve their scholarship outcomes, or kind of get the scholarships in the first place? And I have got personal references who have scored 100% scholarships at few of the best universities.
Right.
So I really wanted to know what are those kind of criteria or ways to get those kind of scholarships?
No, and you're absolutely right. Couple of things over here, because there are 3 kinds of scholarships. One is, of course, the academically meritorious scholarships, wherein they largely focus around your academic merit, if it's an academically intensive program that you're getting into. Second, there are also the diversity, equality, inclusion kind of scholarships that are there. And the third is what they call as the leadership awards, where they're identifying future leaders, future ambassadors, future alumni that they want to be really proud about. Now, every scholarship does have slightly different criteria, but mostly it starts with the base. The base is academic merit.
Okay.
Right? So you can't score bad and then expect a scholarship. You need to have a great score. If you are in year 12, a 90-95% in India today is an average. So as an Indian, if you are planning to score a 65% and expect a scholarship, not happening. Okay. Right. So you have to kind of get to that basic academic merit that every other Indian is kind of scoring. Second, every university and every employer is looking for strong communication skills, strong skills that display your teamwork capabilities, strong leadership qualities, commitment towards improving the society, how engaged you are with your people. So what are the evidences that you can provide that you are someone who fits all these checkpoints? So in an ideal world, I would want to work with a child for 3 to 4 years to help them, gain all these skills or multifaceted. And what I would compliment the Indian education system is that there are amazing schools across India and amazing universities which provide these opportunities to our children to be able to grow. It's sad if a child is not able to uptake these opportunities, and sometimes they have it all, but they basically lack the skill of presenting it to the university or communicating it. And in today's world, with the way AI is kind of taking over in almost every space, you can be somebody with average skills, But the one skill that you need to be really strong at is communication.
That's right, yeah.
Right, and if you're missing out on communication, you'll miss out on the scholarship.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Well, you spoke around academic qualifications and more or less average students score like 90%, and that might be true for the people who are just doing 12th standards or just graduating from schools.
Right.
The first question more around this scenario is like there are people who might be like 70% scorer, 80% scorer. So I mean 90% scorer, amazing, but what if someone is like scoring 70-75% or something around that? Because that's I feel like kind of a common thing across India and most of the schools.
Okay. Now this is where I agree and I disagree with you, and this is where I want parents to do their homework, because in India, unfortunately, parents push their child towards careers or colleges or entrance exams without doing their homework. They have done zero research. Quick question: how many kids write the year 12 exam in India every year?
I have no idea.
No, exactly. That's exactly what every parent tells me, that close to 60 lakh children write the class 12th board exams every year. 60 lakh. And this is all your state boards, central boards, international boards, open board, everything put together. 60 lakh plus write the board exams. Now, out of these 60 lakh kids, 9 lakh are scoring more than 90%. So, and anybody who's scoring that 90% is applying to your NUS of the world, the NTUs and NYUs and everything, right? So when an admission officer of a top ranking university is looking at an application, he's seeing enough 90%. So you may get that 70% or an 80%, you may get an admission. Admission is still a possibility with that 70%, 80%, but do not expect a scholarship, because there are 9 lakh Indians out there with that 90% and above grade, right? So that's the reason why, courtesy the Indian population pressure, 9 lakhs suddenly becomes a very average score, right? And it's the sheer volume with which we defeat the purpose of it.
What about the scholarships at the tier 2 universities, which are still ranked like far amazing as compared to
better to Indian universities, right?
So what about those tier 2 or tier 3 universities across the world? Like, do they offer some sort of scholarships?
So there are different kinds of scholarships. Then there are these bursary supports or academic supports or partial scholarships, if you want to call them, because scholarship support or academic support starts from a 10% to 100%. So if you are aiming at that 100%, the closer you are to 100% in terms of your academic grade, better are your chances. If you are happy with a 10% or a 20% scholarship, some of these scholarships kick in at 65 or 70% as well, depending on which tier of colleges or which country you are approaching and what program you are signing up for. For example, some universities focused on law, or there are others who are focused on agriculture sciences, and they would have extra budgets for scholarships in those programs, may not have it for engineering, and vice versa. So it depends on which program, what university, which country, which tier of universities you're happy to go in, and what value of scholarship you're happy to accept, right? There are some universities that are so expensive that even when they offer a 50% scholarship, they are still more expensive than the 100% fees of another university. So you have to kind of work it out. It's very subjective, depends on the student and everything. But yeah, there are admissions possible even at 60%. But if you are aiming at that 100% scholarship from a top tier university, do not expect that I will perform substandard in any aspect and still I will be able to get a scholarship. So that's not happening.
Okay, what are the biggest challenges international students face? And you have spoken to a lot of international students who kind of, are still in touch with you once they land in their respective countries.
Right.
Like, what are the challenges and how people should prepare themselves mentally and financially before they kind of, even arrive over here?
It's a very good question, and the same question comes to us in different forms. From the parents' perspective, this question normally comes to us is, should my child go for bachelor's or master's? And I have a simple test that can your child set an alarm and wake up? Can your child cook food? Can your child follow a schedule without you having to run after your child? If your child has these basic life skills, your child is ready. Your child might be 15, or 25, your child is ready. But if your child even at the age of 25 or 30, can't survive without you supporting or feeding the child or taking care of the child, then the child is never ready. So it's the life skills that challenge Indian students when they go abroad. It's never the academics. Our Indian students are absolutely brilliant when it comes to coping up with the academics.
Yeah, that's true.
It's the life skills, being on time, finishing the assignments on time, not copying from the internet, being able to take care of your health, your food, and other things. Those are the areas where children face challenges, and almost 15 to 20% of all Indian students who go abroad actually return back home even without finishing the program within the first couple of months, because they are not able to cope up with the life overseas. They are okay to cope up with the program, but they are not able to cope up with life. Yeah. Being on time is such an alien concept in India. Right.
So we spoke about 90% around 12th standard people or people who are graduating from high school. But that's not a possibility for people who are doing bachelors, like, who have done bachelors and are coming for masters. I know a lot of universities where even 80% is just a dream.
It's dream.
So, what about them? Like, are they kind of, able to get any scholarship, or it's just like full fee thing for them?
No, if they are, and again, there are mechanisms around that. So, again, just to correct you, the Indian government today comes out with a lot of data and information that are used as a referencing point by the foreign universities. Number one, we have our NIRF rankings, which the National Institutional Framework rankings that's there. Similarly, we also have the UGC website, which categorizes our institutions in Section 1, Section 2, and Section 3. So if you're going to a Section 1 university, 55% in a Section 1 university is equal to an 80% as at Section 3 university. So the first advice to an Indian student is, before you sign up for an undergraduate program in India, please refer to the information given by the Government of India about that institution. It's on the internet, right? Second, when it comes to academic performance, when you look at the top ranked Indian institutions like an IIT, you have those 9.88 scorers, you have the 9.2 scorers, you have the gold medalists. I've had a case where a girl was from a central government university and she graduated with a 58%, and she was still given a 100% scholarship because she got a certificate from the university stating that she's the gold medalist, she's the topper of the university. So you can get the rank certificate from the university. That's fine that my university has a difficult grading system, get me a rank certificate. But you can't say that, okay, there's somebody who's getting a 90%, but my professor did not like my face, gave me 60%, but you should give me a scholarship. That's not going to happen. Yeah.
Let's jump to kind of personal challenges of students. So a lot of students, as soon as they arrive in a foreign country, they do cope up with like personal challenges. For example, homesickness.
Right.
How do you advise people before they kind of depart the home countries to manage such situations?
No matter what or no matter when, homesickness is bound to hit you. But what I always work with the students is we try to sensitize them about this situation. Right? We make them aware that this is what's coming their way, because a lot of children are taken by surprise because they had never anticipated such a situation. Many of them are traveling for the first time by themselves, first time away from the family, and if you just help them anticipate those scenarios, work with them, then they are better placed to react to that situation. So we also tell them about the support services that are available free of cost with those universities or the countries that they're going in. We try and connect them with members of the community or members from the same city who are there. We try and help them get skills, like, it's okay to speak out, it's okay to ask. A lot of Indian kids generally feel very shy, they don't want to talk to anyone, they don't want to ask. So part of my counseling when they're coming to me is helping them open up and making them ask, making them request, making them speak. That's part of the program. But yeah, homesickness does affect, but once you make friends, then things improve, they look up. Yeah.
But many students are still unsure about how they should what subjects they should go for,
Yes.
what they should study further.
Yes,
And then obviously, people have got their passions, or, someone has studied something back in their countries, but they want to
Right.
pursue something else, which is not available sometimes in
Right.
their own home countries.
Right.
So how do you kind of advise them around aligning their academic choices with long-term career goals while making sure that they're happy with what they're choosing?
No, through your podcast and otherwise, I'm like, because this is my struggle with the current generation, both students, parents, and teachers alike. Unfortunately, we've stopped studying, we've stopped reading, we have stopped doing our research, we have stopped reading newspapers, we are not doing data trends. And so I force a student who's undertaking counseling with me to start thinking about the future, right? So first thing that I force them to think about is, when I study this program, what are the skills that I'm going to acquire, and when am I required to apply those skills? Like, for example, if I'm in grade 11 right now, I'll spend another year in school, I'll spend 4 years in undergrad, I'll spend 2 years in postgrad. I am going to be working 8 years later. So is the skill that I'm going to acquire, or the degree that I'm going to acquire, going to be relevant 8 years later? Or how the world is going to evolve in those 8 years? So nobody is thinking from that. Everybody is thinking, my uncle did this, my dad did this, my grandfather did this, this is what my senior has just done. But nobody is thinking what's going to be relevant 8 years later, right? So we force them to think that what are the skills that are going to be in demand 8 years later. Yeah. It's not a question of today, it's 8 years later. The second thing that we kind of force them to think again is do their research. Like, clear data trends are emerging that even if you want to study medicine, you still need to have AI and technical skills. You want to become an engineer, you still need to have AI skills. You want to become a lawyer, you need to understand cybersecurity and cyber laws. You need to get into AI in that mode. So when you are acting unaware about the world around you, you are bound to commit a mistake. So we just try and push this information towards the student and the parent, so that they make an informed decision and they chart out that, okay, this is a bachelor's program which gives me multiple exit options, wherein depending on the way the world is moving towards, I have a broad-based degree which gives me multiple career paths at the end of it. And then normally recommend a master's, which is generally either a super specialization or an alternate career path that I may need to kind of take off. So it's a lot of work, and it takes some time to understand and comprehend as to what we are saying, because not many are willing to accept that my job can be replaced by technology or someone else very soon, or my passion will not result in employment, right? So it's a very difficult conversation.
Well, what you are saying, like anyone who is planning, not even going for studies, I feel like you have to be kind of doing two things at the same time, or learning two different skills. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that you need to be prepared for the future.
So but the problem is, like, I don't know where I'm making my future, like 8 years down the line, or 5 years down the line.
Okay. So for example, coding, software development, or use of computers or technology, till about 15 years ago was limited to people who were studying computers. Now today it's part of school curriculum and college curriculum, and everyone is expected to know basic programming, basic internet handling, basic work on that, basic data interpretation skills. It's a skill that is now a requirement. No matter whether you are doing accounting as a job, business analytics as a job, engineering as a job, or medicine as a job, but you are now required to know it all, right? 8 years later, you can't say, I want to become a doctor, but who will not do robotic surgery.
Okay, makes sense,
yeah, I want to be an accountant, but I will not go for automation. I want to be a driver, but I will not drive Tesla trucks which are self-driven or satellite controlled. You need to see where the world is changing and how things are evolving. So there are some skills which were supposed to be separate, independent skills completely till about 5 years ago, but today it's a given. Today a CBSE child in class 8th is being taught Python. So you can't say that I'm going to study business analytics, but I don't want to study Python. I don't like computers. It's a given. The skill set with which you are walking in, you need to have everything that the world expects you to know.
And what if your interest changes down the line? Like, after you study, let's say, take my example, I studied Bachelor's of Business Administration back at St. Xavier's. And before that, the interest was doing something which is around business or management side of the things, or possibly pursuing an MBA later on. After I did BBA, and because I was counseled properly, so I think I chose an IT degree which was leading me to a good career. By the time I finished my IT degree, which was Masters of Business Information Systems from one of the group of 8 universities, once I finished it, I realized that degree might not lead me to a good career. And then there are a couple of other things. Obviously, there are a lot of around. I had, if not more, I have had like 1,500 students graduating from my same university with a IT degree. Like there are like 4 different courses, so one out of those 4 courses. And I was like, okay, fine, if I'm competing with these people as well as then I'm competing with other university people as well. So and then I also kind of, felt that my interest is again changing after that completion of university degree. My interest has changed here thrice. And I'm still exploring my, area of operations or where I should move forward with. And the interest keeps on changing, and this is not just true with me. I have a feeling
this is fine, and this is absolutely okay with your generation or the generations to come, because the previous generation, we used to say that you would stick to the same sector but you will change companies.
Yep.
But now we are saying that you are in a generation where you're going to be changing careers altogether. You'll be jumping careers. You're not going to be sticking to one career. But if you look at yourself today you are an entrepreneur, so you're using your business skills that you learned. You're putting them to test. You're using technology as a backbone to run the businesses and interventions that you're doing. So you're using, because you had those skill sets, you're using it, and that's exactly what we try and counsel. That don't get hung up with the name of a company or a career that this is what I want to do. I don't want to do an MBA. What are the skills that will keep me employable?
Yeah.
Right? If I want to be an entrepreneur today, no entrepreneur can go out and say, I don't want to learn anything about technology. I'll become an entrepreneur without learning technology. You have to learn technology. Every entrepreneur.
No, I agree with that, because I've seen people, even if they are not learning when they are studying, they have to learn it alongside when they're actually working. So yeah, makes sense.
Exactly. So the more you spend time in terms of acquiring skills that make you relevant for the future, that's better. Rather than being stuck up, I want to be an engineer, my question would always be, what is it that you are learning during that process that will keep you relevant in the future? So while you are thinking that I am not using my degree, but you are using all the skills that you learned.
Yeah, that's true. What advice would you give to parents who are unsure about sending their kids abroad? And how can they support their children in kind of making the right decisions?
Be parents. So one of the biggest advice that I give to parents is that your child can make a lot of friends throughout his life, but the child cannot get another set of parents. So always be that parent that the child needs, and always be there to guide the child. Second major advice is always make the child feel safe at home. Always give that comfort factor to the child, that no matter what, if things go wrong, we are there to back you up, we are there to support you. Because the moment a child and the parent communication breaks down, that's where trouble starts. So if, as long as the parent is being able to give that safe environment to the child, it's fine. Another important aspect that the parents kind of miss out on is doing their research and having a backup plan. When I ask a parent how many IITs are there in India, how many students write the Delhi University entrance exam, how many students write the medical entrance exam, no parents know. But all of them want their children to write those exams. When I ask them how many children are writing the CBSE exam or ICSE exam, none of them have done their research, but they want the child to do the research. So this is where, when you are not better prepared, how do you expect the child to share the load? Yeah, none of the parents are having a backup plan in mind of getting their tax returns in place, getting their financial investments in place. None of the parents are getting their act together, but basically expecting the child to outperform them, outperform everyone, and I'm like, it's just not fair, the expectations that they have. So be a parent, be responsible, give your child a lot of life skills. You know, one of the biggest mistake that parents today are doing is, I will give my child everything that I did not get. And I question the parent that, look, your parents did not give those things to you and you turned out okay, right? Right? So there's nothing wrong with that. So sometimes, because you end up creating children who don't know how to shop for vegetables, who don't know how to do banking, who don't know how to cook, who don't know how to go around in public transport. You leave that child in a foreign environment, that child will be homesick in a day. That child will not be able to cope up. How many life skills are you giving your child? How safe are you making you feel? Is your child ready for the world? So parents don't have to do rocket science. I don't need 20,000 hobby classes for your child. But if your child can't set an alarm, get up on time, cook his food, manage his finances, your child is a failure.
I think some of these things feel foreign to me right now, because in our homes, it's pretty much a culture now that in 10th standard, while you are having your summer holidays, so they will logically train you to cook food.
Exactly.
So it's like, me and all my siblings and even cousins, they used to come to our place, and my father used to teach them to cook.
Exactly. So and that's the reason why, Dev, you're excelling. And if you remember, with you, a lot of other kids came from the same city, probably went to the same university. Each one had a different journey.
That's right, yeah.
And if you map it backwards, if you analyze the data, you will find that kids with better life skills excelled.
Yeah,
Kids who did not have those life skills failed. None of you failed in the classroom.
That's true, yeah.
You failed in life, right?
Do you meet someone like who might have came here with high dreams, did good at the university, but then later on they were not able to cope up with the kind of professional pressures, or
life pressures.
Life pressures.
Absolutely. In 22 years, I've seen all kinds of journeys. I've seen kids who came with no hopes and who are flourishing in a foreign environment, and I've seen kids who came with a lot of hopes, almost sorted with their plans, and they've lost track. It could be not getting the right kind of parental support, some family tragedy back home, loans not working out, recession at the work front, girlfriend leaving you or a boyfriend leaving you, a heartbreak. I've had all kinds of failures. I've seen everything. I've seen kids get into depression. I've seen kids getting into bad company, getting into bad habits. Right. The only thing that as a counselor I try to work with parents and children is that, can we reduce the risks?
Okay.
Because these risks are there in India as well. The rewards are there in India as well and overseas as well. The rewards are higher in overseas if you are able to work hard and maintain that kind of level of hard work and commitment. The rate of failure is much lower when you are overseas. The rate of failure is much lower versus the rate of failure in India. But yeah, you do fail.
But then I think it depends, because a lot of people who come here immediately, within a month or two, they go into that homesickness mode.
Yes.
And which sometimes lead to kind of habits around alcohol and drugs and all those things, parties and everything.
Absolutely.
And even if they complete their master's degree, because they've just done their master's degree and nothing else, in terms of internships or kind of working,
right,
or
they've not worked up, right.
So I think, I mean, those students might end up with a okayish job which pays like okayish amount,
or not even without a job. Like I've had kids whose parents gave them the message that don't work part-time, we'll take care of you. And today when that child is going for a job interview, they're saying, because you didn't work part-time, you don't have a local reference or local experience, I'm not going to hire you. Now, should I blame the university, education system, country, child, or the parent? Right? And then I've got children who have lied to their parents send me more money for books or whatever, and they've used it for parties and other things. And my response to that is, the parent can only financially support you. I can only guide you to reach to a university, but the decisions are going to be the child's individual decision. And that brings back to my whole point. Be the parent, help your child in getting the right life skills, help your child in the decision making, help them identify the good and the bad, so that whether the child is in India or overseas, anywhere, the child makes the right decision. Because we have similar cases in India, it's got nothing to do with the country, it has got nothing to do with the environment. If the child has decided to go astray, it's their problem, right? But all you can do is make sure that you're safeguarding the maximum possible. That's it.
Thank you so much, Pawan sir. Before we wrap up, for all those students and parents out there who are thinking about taking their first step, Pawan sir, what's the one piece of advice you would like to leave them with?
Number one, read my book. Number two, my request would always be undertake research. Don't go unprepared. That would be my request always.
That's great. And his book's name is Study Abroad Playbook. So I would certainly give a shout out to give it a read. Any closing statements you would like to make?
Work hard. There is no shortcut. Nothing in life is possible without working hard. And believe me, it's at the end, it's all worth it.
Thank you again, Pawan sir, for sharing your expertise and time with us. It's been a pleasure having you on the Dev Singh Show, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good one. Bye.
Thanks, Dev. Yeah.